everything.
Alright guys, so we're jumping into components interacting lesson This.Props. Now just heads up, I'm going to skip through a lot of the information, but there is a ton of stuff to kind of read through on this one. It's very complex. Props themselves are kind of easy, but when you're interacting with various components and passing props into other components, that's really where it gets a little confusing on another layer of depth. So props are basically when one component to another, information gets passed from one component to another. I kind of think of them as parameters passing between objects. That's how I think of it. Whether that's correct technically, probably not, but whatever makes you understand it. So the way that you declare props is this.props, then the prop name. So in our example here, you'll see that we have, we're stringifying this so that we can see it. So basically we just want to see a string of it. And then we're going to go ahead and inject it into our h2 element here. Excuse me. There is that, like so. Let's go ahead and run that. Zoom in a little bit. And then we need to go ahead and render it out. So React.DOM.render. And what are we rendering here? We are rendering our component props displayer. And where do we want to output it? We want to go ahead and output it at document.getElementById at the ID app. So assuming I didn't misspell anything, which is about 1 in 3 times I feel like I misspelled something. So right now you'll see right now our prop is empty, hence why it's not coming out with our JSON. But I think we'll take care of that in this next section. The way that you pass a prop in is you'll see our greeting app here, and we're basically kind of assigning a parameter or a prop like so. So this is the name of it, my info. This is top secret info. And then you'll see right here you can also set a object that takes in an array. You can get very complex with this stuff. If you need to put in a Boolean value, so if you want to just pass a string, it's quotes. If you want to pass in like a Boolean, you're going to wrap it in curly braces. Same thing with a numeric number as well. Let's go ahead and jump into give my prop give a value of hello. So we're going to pass in a prop to props displayer here, and we're going to say my prop is equal to, and because it's a string, we're using quotations, hello. And remember, this is coming out as a JSON object, so we're going to see the key value pair here, like so. On line 12, you'll see a prop called Roberto being passed in. How can you make that name show up on the screen? So what we're going to do there is we're just going to type out anything like we normally would. Hi there, comma, and then curly braces. And in here, we're going to say this. Remember, this kind of refers to the object that we're working within. This.props.name. You're going to be using this a lot with your props. This.props always. So just will be one of the things you'll have to know about React. This.props.name. And it should output, hi there, Roberto. Oh, and make sure you put in the correct prompt. Here we go. So you're going to kind of see how we can kind of make this dynamic. Now, if we wanted to change our values here like so, we could simply, instead of Roberto, we could put coding tutorials 360. And then it'll say hi there, coding tutorials 360. So props, not too complicated when you're dealing on kind of a simple level like that, but once you deal in passing in multiple components from one component to the next, it gets a little hard to keep track of everything. I actually don't think they do a very solid job with how they do the second half of this. But with that being said, I am still new to React, so maybe I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So you'll see right here, we're passing in our render here, we're passing in a name, everything we've learned so far. It just kind of warns you about props and prop here. So a prop is our name. This.Props is, so just basically keep that straight. That's all. Your mission is to pass a prop to the greeting component instance from an app component instance. If app is going to pass a prop to greeting and it follows app, it's going to render to greeting. Since greeting is going to be rendered by another component, it needs to use the module that exports. In greeting.js, delete require React DOM. So because we're not doing anything with it in greeting, we're just going to pass it to app. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the require React DOM. And then what do we want to do here? And remove this as well because we're not rendering it, remember? What we want to do here is just go ahead and export our component if it's called. So that's all that's going on here. Wish this ran a little quicker. Alright, so app can't pass a prop to greeting until app.js imports the variable. So if you remember correctly, we just do it similar to how we did it before, where you're going to say var, what do we want to call it? We want to call it greeting is equal to, and then we want to require that component. What's the component that we're requiring? It is greeting. And then that, I think it might be /greeting. Alright, there we go. And then in app.js, add a greeting instance to the app's render function immediately under h1 with attribute name. Give greeting an attribute name. So in app, create a greeting instance in the app's render function. So here we are in the app's render function, and we want it to be underneath the h1. And so what we want to do is just create an instance of our component here, our greeting component. And then we're going to pass in a name here. Oh, it doesn't, in a name with a name of name. Name is equal. I think this is what it's asking us. Let's see here. Name is equal to name. I don't think we have passed in a prop. Give an attribute the name of name. Hi there, name. I don't think I did that correctly. Oh, I did. So right now we're just hard coding this, basically. It's not actually inheriting the prop quite yet. It's still a prop. It's just not inheriting it like we would normally use for that. So, or it is rather, but we just haven't, I don't know why we didn't do it name. So we passed the prop from one component to another, accessed the prop from the receiver component, and rendered it. Let's see here, blah, blah, blah. So now it's basically saying that we're going to be doing some more stuff with it. Let's see here. So select greeting.js. You can see greeting now expects two props. This.Props name, this.SignedIn. So it's showing us this if statement here. It's saying if our prop is equal to false, return go away, else return this.Props name. Okay, so showing us how we can do a little bit of logic here. Look at greeting until you feel like you understand how it works. Inside apps, render function. So let's go and jump into app here. A second prop of signed in. In greeting, okay, so in greeting here, we're going to go ahead and add a new prop called signed in. And then we're going to set this equal to, and remember, because this is a Boolean, we are going to use the brackets, no quotes. We're going to set it equal to false. Now, when we set it equal to false, it's going to change our text based off that. when it finally runs. There we go. So when it's equal to false, it'll say go away. Perfect. To which they say, how rude. I mean, honestly. Alright, so change the value of signed in to make headline display a friendly greeting. It's just basically showing us we can set this to true now, and it will go ahead and change it back. Now this example, you'd probably have like an authentication token that would do this, but do something similar, and it would give you a value if the authentication's correct, and then you would be able to display a message. You wouldn't hardcode these things, but the principle behind it is valid all the same. All right. So you can also pass event handlers as props as well. So we're going to look at our talker.js. So event handler is anything like on click, on hover, any sort of thing like that. So in talker.js, you'll notice right here we have this on click, this.handle event. But let's go ahead and jump into talker.js as we're instructed. You'll see it's going to output 10,000 blah blah blahs in an alert. Now, what we want to do, we write talk so this property of object passed to React.create class. So it tells us that, oh, hey, we can look at example.js, and you'll see right here, this is exactly how we do it. This is handle event. So what we want to do here is just say button on click is equal to, remember we're working, oops, this, and then the function. So this dot, oh, did I do that incorrectly? Yes, I did. So I forgot we're dealing with a function and not a string, so make sure you do the curly brackets. This dot talk. I'll go ahead and run that. So this button is passing in the prop on click this dot talk. If it runs eventually. Alright, let's go back here. This dot handle event. This should be correct. So our passing it in here. Talker should have a property named talk. Make sure. Oh, excuse me. We actually meant to put this in the Talker application. So we're in the render here. I believe that's what we needed to do here. Let's look back. Yeah, see, we passed. Well, wait a second. Is that what they want us to do? Make sure that talk's value is a function. This dot talk. Yeah, no, I think we had it right. I believe we were correct the first time. Let's go ahead and throw this in here real quick, run it, and then if it is incorrect, we'll go ahead and examine the oh, whoops. Alright, so this is correct. What's going on here is that this is outside of our function here. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. So what we just, no, we're alright now. What we need to do here is simply treat this like anything else we would. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. So we're going to say talk, colon, and then we're going to have a function, right? And bam. So remember our talker here is actually taking it, has a talk function that's a parameter or a property rather, and then we're passing the onClick event into here. There we go. So you want to pass talk down from there to button. I think we already did that. It wants us to give it foo is equal to bar. Inside of talk is going to give the following attribute. Alright? So foo is equal to bar to our button. So we're passing the bar prop, any prop. So we're passing the foo prop that happens to be equal to bar here. Yo, y'all need to chill out on CodeCademy right now, bro. Eventually. So we're passing in a prop. Your goal is to pass talk down. What should your attribute be? It really doesn't matter. Here's a list of names that you can't use. Check that out. Most of them you'll probably already know. So we want to keep the attribute the same, but we want to change what we're trying to do here to bar, it looks like. So we're just going to go ahead and change the parameter here, the prop rather, back to talk. There we go. And what should the attribute value be? Should be the information you want to pass to a different component. That's basically just saying this is what you're going to want to pass. Inside of the render function, change your attribute value to talk. So we're simply going to change our value bar here to be our sort of dynamic value with this.talk. So we're just passing in the function here. So if we change blah to React is so great, it would say React is so great 10,000 times. Alright. Excuse me while I take some pain pills for my wisdom teeth. Just take one Tylenol. Alright, great. You now pass a function from talker down to button. Alright? It goes over that you can have on click on hover. Since you named your attribute talk, you can pass down you can access your pass down function via this.props.talk in button.js. So similar how this is .talk in button.js, when we want to access that, we want to go ahead and assign, it looks like, a on click that's going to be equal to, excuse me, this.props.talk. Yes, I'm still here, CodeCademy. By the way, if this doesn't happen to you, I would love to know, because it seems to happen to me all day long while I'm doing this. In button.js, you add an on-click attribute to the renders function button. There we go. Alright, last minute about naming things. When you pass a prop, as you just do, there's two names that you have to choose. The parent component class, as the component class defines a function and passes it along. Look at Talker.js on line 6 to 11. So we have our talk. We chose to name it talk. The second name that you have to choose is the prop of the name that you'll choose to pass the event handler. This is the same thing as your attribute name. In the last exercise, the name was also talk, as shown on line 14. These two names can be whatever. They do follow a certain naming convention. If you're listening for a click event, then you'll name your event handler handle click. If you're listening for a key press event, you'll name it handle key press. The prop name should be the word on plus the same event type. If you're listening for a click event, then the prop is on click. So it's basically just telling you about the naming convention. So Talker.js changes the event handler's name for talk to handle click. Go ahead and run that. Talker's render function, change the props name from talk to on click. Go ahead and pass in the on click like so. Change the prop value to affect that the handle name is now this.handleClick. So this.handleClick. We're just changing our code a little bit here. Go ahead and run that. And then we want to select button.js. It's expecting a prop name on click, so we need to go ahead and change the prop. Instead of name, we're just going to go ahead and change this on click, kind of just showcasing what we did. Really making it known that if you change one thing, everything else has to change as well, is typically the case with programming. And then one major source of confusion is the name on click has special meaning, but only on HTML-like elements. Let's see here. I think this is just a lot of like telling you what on click means some stuff. So let's go ahead and run this, and I think we're probably done with this page. If it ever runs. There we go. A lot of information here going on about the naming convention and what it means. It's just an arbitrary event name. It doesn't actually do anything special because we're dealing with JSX. Alright, so every component's props has an object named children. This.Props.Children will return everything in between a component's opening and closing JSX tags. So this.props children, blah, 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 blah. All right, so what's going on here is in our list.js, we want to output some stuff. So now open list.js. So we're going to be rendering some things here. Alright, so when we run this, you'll see that we have two list titles. If it ever runs. So you're going to see two titles here, but you're not actually going to see anything else. And that's going to be part of the problem. So here's our title here. I don't really... Yo. Chill out here. So these are our H1s, but in our UL here, we're not displaying anything. Now, if we want to get all their children, we would display it like this: this.props.children. So now when we run this, it's going to get the children of the parent element and go ahead and output this. So you'll be using this a lot. It kind of goes owner, parent, children. And owner is kind of a new thing in terms of how to think about things. But it's really just one level above. So here we have our two favorite musicians. And it just kind of gives us a little bit more it's basically taking the children of this array and then outputting it. That's what's going on right now. Alright, take a look at the button component class. Here we are. If no one passes any text to the button, nothing happens here. So this is our text. this .props text, but we don't have no one's passing a prop in, so it's just being displayed as a blank button. Now, it's giving us a lot of stuff, so let's go ahead and run this, and you'll see that what a sad textless button. There we go. Now, inside of the object passed to React.create class, so inside here, inside our component, we want to define a function. Alright, we know how to do that. So we're going to define a default prop. This is a function. And this is something, from what I've been told, you do quite often. In case a prop isn't passed in, you'll have these default prop functions. So we're going to go ahead and set text. We're going to set text. Our text is equal to I am a button. Let's go ahead and run that. Now this will be overridden if we actually pass in a value. So this text only inherits the text prop, only inherits this default. What did I do wrong here? Record before then define a get default props. Did I spell that wrong? That's a function. If use example code as render, don't forget to separate render with a comma. Okay. Oh, whoopsies. We actually need to return this. I don't know why I was setting it as a variable. So we're returning this, and we're just returning a key value pair here called text. It's going to be the same as our prop. There we go. I made this same mistake last time. But now, when we go ahead and give our button component in React.DOM.render, we go ahead and say text is equal to, and we're going to make it an empty button again. Making it sad again, as they say. So, when you assign a prop in the component, this will always override any default values that you have in here. So like I said, there's a ton of stuff in here. We kind of blazed through it a little bit. I probably need to review the event handler aspect of it a little bit more. But basically, the things to take away is that when you assign a prop in the render, it takes over if there's a default value. You can assign default values, and that you can pass in props from component to component, and the thing to keep in mind is you have to use the same name, and then each parent element has children elements you can access as well. So lots of stuff in this last one. And up next, we're going to be moving on to something called the state, which I used today in a free CodeCamp project to use an API project, and it was difficult. So that was with APIs. I don't know if this is going to include that, but I'm looking forward to it. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share the video, and thank you to those of you supporting me on Patreon, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and share, and support me on Patreon. Check out wayup.com. It's a great way to find full-time jobs, internships, part-time jobs, and one-time freelance work for the college student. All you need is a .edu email. It's completely free, and you'll help me out in the process too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.